Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 29 minutes. Unemployment and cost of living issues central in conversations ahead of 2026 mid-year budget presentation. This afternoon, we'll bring you more expectations ahead of the reading later this afternoon. Also on the program this afternoon, Accra High Court dismisses application seeking to strike out the entire charge sheet against former CEO of the National Buffer Stock Company, Hanan Abdul-Wahab Aludiba, who are standing trial for various corruption offences. And much later on the program, President Mahama challenges African leaders to move beyond rhetoric and commit real resources to financing the continent's health systems. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Now, all eyes will be on Parliament this afternoon as Finance Minister Dr. Kassia Olatofosin presents the 2026 mid-year budget review, outlining the state of Ghana's economy 6 months into the fiscal year and whether the government is on course to meeting its economic target. The review is expected to provide an update on revenue mobilization, government spending, inflation, debt management, and the implementation of key policy interventions. It will also indicate whether the government intends to revise its revenue and expenditure projections or introduce new measures to address emerging economic challenges. Already, economic analysts are expecting the finance minister to announce concrete measures to strengthen domestic revenue mobilization after tax collections in the first quarter fell short of the government's target. They will also be looking for updates on expenditure management, debt servicing, and policies aimed at sustaining economic growth during the second half of the year. Let's now take you across the country to capture the mood and, of course, expectation of Ghanaians ahead of the budget. And Grace Hamwajuman is my colleague. She is currently in one of the areas that people obviously will be expressing their opinions. She joins us live now. Grace, I know you are in Accra. Tell us exactly which part of Accra you're at, what the people are saying.
Right, we are still, I am at the Aberfoyle Spare Parts Hub, one of the biggest spare parts outlets you can find in the country. And then, because of the way they, anytime there's a major shift in the reading of the balance of government economic policy, it impacts directly on their business, which also trickles down to us as consumers. And so we've been speaking with some of them, and for them, 3 major key issues run through all the people we are talking with. The first one for them is the officialization of the women's bank. They tell me that most of the traders at the traders are women and who are looking forward to accessing a lot of funds. They know that there are other banks or facilities out there, but the interest rate at which they give them these loans can very high. So they're looking forward to government operationalizing the women's bank so that because it is specific to women, they can go there and their facilities at rates that are business-wise so that they can also get some of the funds from there. They also talk about the implementation of the 24-hour economy. The traders there tell me that they are looking forward to the finance minister talking about the implementation of which they already know a bill has been passed, but they want to see more done because as traders, they don't only want to be stuck at trading, they also want to enter into manufacturing. They even told me that they have submitted their proposals to the finance minister in relation to the implementation of the 24-hour economy, and so they're looking forward to that also coming on soon so they can benefit from it. When it does, they might not only also import a lot of things they already do, but can start manufacturing them here in the country. The third one on the bill is the reclassification of the VAT flat rate. You know that earlier this year, while the finance minister read the first budget, he spoke about the budget threshold for people who earn close to 750,000 at the end of the year as their threshold. They say that they are pleading with the finance minister to bring it back to the 4% VAT flat rate. And even if government brings it back to the 4% flat rate, and government is proposing an increment between 5 and 6, they will still pay because they prefer that to the 20% bandwidth at which they have to pay their tax. And then the fourth item is the rationalization of what they describe as heavy import duties. At the last meeting with President Mahama, he told them that he was going to rationalize the duties they pay at the port so that when they are bringing in the goods, it will be easier for them. They said they're looking forward to the finance minister talking about how government intends to do this and giving a timeline so that their next import, they know that when I bring in this amount of goods, this 20-liter container of spare parts, I know I am paying this according to the new rationalization that government has introduced. And so for them, these four items are priority. They look forward to the minister. They didn't talk about the city because they tell me that realistically, the city has enjoyed some form of stability for which they are grateful, but they look forward to these four things to complement the entire business environment for them.
Beyond the expectations, though, they give the immediate assessment of how the last 6 months have been as business people.
Yes, Beatrice, they tell me that the city stability in the last 6 months has been good, business has been good, and they are grateful unto the president, especially because of the city stability. They also talk about, government issued a directive also on people buying more from the spare parts dealers, and that has also helped them a lot. So for them, the last 6 months have been good. They've enjoyed it. They're looking forward to this budget, which will also give them an insight into how the next 6 months is going to look like.
Thank you very much, Grace Samuajiman, my colleague currently at the Abosokai Spare Parts Hub. Let's go to the Ashanti region now. My colleague Ibrahim Abubakar has been monitoring the mood for us since morning. He joins us live on the phone. Ibrahim, which part of Kumasi are you currently? What are the people saying?
So, Beatrice, I'm within the central, within the central business district, and for most of the residents here, they are looking at the cost of living. It remains one of the major concerns for them. For them, they believe that whilst government has repeatedly highlighted improvement in key economic indicators, they are not feeling the relief in their daily life. So then they want to hear practical interventions that will bring down the prices of essential food commodities and also make things more affordable. Then you engage drivers, they are also looking at the issue of fuel prices, and they say the fluctuation in the price of the petroleum products have a rippling effect on transportation or even the cost of goods and services. And they want to hear measures that will help ensure great stability at the pumps and prevent rising fuel costs from putting additional pressure on the budget. And also the youth, they are also looking at how the government will create sustainable jobs because they still believe while many graduates and young people are struggling to secure decent employment and government is not forthcoming with creative ideas that will ensure that they have sustainable jobs. Then generally, people are also looking at government releasing funds towards the completion of the Syria and also Afari Hospital project and also the completion of the Swami interchange. So basically, these are some of the things residents of Kumasi are expecting to hear from the finance minister when he delivers the media statement.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Abubakar, my colleague in the Ashanti region, reporting live from Kumasi. Let's come to Parliament, where the whole show will happen. Christian Yale is our man. He's been monitoring the House for us. Chris, just a couple of hours, I believe, for the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasia Latofosin, to tell us his assessment of the last 6 months and what we should expect. I'm wondering what's happening on the floor right now.
Beatrice, as of now, the floor is almost empty because most of the members of parliament are not available right now. Though we know the advertised time from yesterday for sitting to begin today was 12 p.m. And so it is expected that any moment from now that should happen. But currently, even as I talk, Speaker Bagbe himself is delivering a keynote address at an event by the Supreme Court. So it is likely we may have to wait for him to return, then the proceedings would begin. But I see a couple of MPs already inside the chamber, reluctant to await the commencement of business. In fact, a lot is expected because when you look at the key issues that the government promised in their second budget, which was read last year in November, some of them have been done, especially look at VAT reforms that they decided to embark on, which VAT law has passed, essentially scrapping the likes of the COVID-19 levy and then decoupling the GET fund and the NHIL levies. So those ones have been done that you can easily point fingers to. There are a number of things they decided that they would do, like expanding secondary education. Just this week, we know that a $500 million World Bank fund has been approved by Parliament for government to undertake the expansion of secondary education and in the end, even end double track. That has been done. Government indicated that they were going to work on fiscal measures, and one of the things they wanted to do was to more or less achieve primary surplus of at least 1.5% of GDP. They also wanted to cut waste, more value for money, and the rest of them. We know that already the value for money office bill has been passed, and then what it means is that that establishment is going to undertake so that government would control how projects are awarded and whether they meet the thresholds that the state is dealing with. And so all of these are some of the things that we are looking forward to get updates on, basically to know whether the targets have been achieved. Also looking at the figures around inflation, the figures around the debt to GDP ratio, which we know currently is dropped down to some 44%. For many, they do not expect government to introduce new taxes for the remainder of the year. The minority especially says they do not expect government to ask for a supplementary budget because they believe enough funds have been approved already for government to be able to undertake its activities. So, in fact, a lot of issues. I mean, the policy issues, the figures would be given, the disagreement from the minority side would be expected. But in all of it, I mean, for the Ghanaian consumer, for the persons who have the direct impact, it is about how all of these would translate into their lives and then how well it is with their living conditions and the standard of living thereof. Beatrice.
Thank you very much, Christian Yale. He's a man there. And of course, you'll be joined by a few of my other colleagues this afternoon to bring you all that you need to know as Dr. Cassiel Atu-Forson joins us in Parliament today to bring us the mid-year budget review. But we go to the Eastern region now, where my colleague Yvonne Nikwe has equally been speaking to people in that part of the country. She brought us this earlier.
The mid-year budget review will be more than just a financial update. It will be a critical assessment of government revenue performance, expenditure decisions, and the impact of economic policy on the lives of the citizenry.
We do not expect significant alteration in the mid-year review and all of that, but of course, we expect that there will be some update in terms of the IMF-supported program that we are exiting, okay, and what measures government is putting in place post-IMF program, probably a little bit update on the policy coordination instrument that they are subscribing to. We want to know the 20 different reforms that are in that policy coordination instrument and how that will play out in terms of for the next 36 months whilst the PCI kicks in.
As government takes stock of the first half of the year, the big question remains: are the policy statements and the figures translating into real relief for Ghanaians?
The variables or the macroeconomic variables that the finance minister talked about and what the government sought to do, most of these variables have been realigned except dealing with foreign exchange reserves and all those things. For example, if you look at volatility in terms of our exchange rate, that has been tamed but not tamed enough. And that partly is due to the nature of our economy, where we expect that if you're able to do more of our agrarian, making our agrarian nature become more robust, we have some substitution industries. to take care of that. But unfortunately, that aspect is what is currently worrying the economy and even adding more to our debt, especially in terms of exchange rate differentials.
Not only that, e-levy was abolished in 2025, we've seen reforms in the VAT spectrum where the straight levies have been merged together with the standard VAT rate and pegged at 20%. We want to see how the revenue envelope is responding to these revenue measures. In addition to the policy measures that were introduced, the administrative and compliance measures that were introduced, we want to see how the revenue envelope is responding. The other thing I think government has to respond to is that we know that first quarter budget execution was low, roughly at around 73-74%. That is not good. We need government to spend to stimulate what? Growth.
Here in the Eastern Regional Capital, I've been engaging economic experts and some residents on the performance of government so far and their expectations.
But looking at an economy where the government thought of taking off, the government was able to take off, realigning some of that aspect of the economy where job creation is an enabler. But there are certain lacks in this, which I think that the government needs to be able to retool them and look at how policy could shape that. For example, most of us are looking at how much government can quantify what this big push can do, how much jobs it can create, how much it can serve as one of the ways where the economy can be ballooned in terms of monies getting into the hands of people, how much monies that will be made by contractors. That is one fine way by which at least money supply will increase the economy, at the same time to create jobs for the people. Looking forward, as we are seeing today, we think that the government should think of not just consolidating the gains that have already been made, but the government should find other positive ways by which the economy can grow without actually stressing what we call those who are the private sectors in the economy. In other words, not crowding them out.
This for a year, I say last 2 years,
This government has done better than what we saw the previous 2 years. It must now deliver on its promise of implementing the 24-hour economy. Here in the Eastern region, affordable housing projects should be completed, and our roads must be fixed to ensure foodstuffs are transported to market centers with ease. That will further reduce the cost of food and improve livelihoods. Our youth also need jobs.
Let us almost school near Dom Tiffy near dear. Sunday man also a code in my uncle bed because several will be very school not Tiffy and also a morning. Kakran, and almost more name Jumano near the said, oh, my cannon 24 hours. Let per se, Omonian is Samay. Hospital and a can't anymore. We are necessary that no so many Juma on Punto Bede, ever costume. And to among you know my
Eastern region, if you look at Eastern region, I believe that we still our region should get their share of roads, which in terms of the big project. Then we are also thinking about what government could do in terms of fixing the region in parts of the government policies. Recently, Agata market, you saw that the government came to cut a sword for this 24-hour market. Aside the market, what can be given or can be done such that we can have tailor-made products, or what can be done such that whatever that will come as proceeds in terms of sale in that market will expand the region. At the same time, we're also thinking that the regional share in terms of development is that the government could help in terms of finishing the regional hospital that we have. I think that can also open that side. Affordable housing project is also there. By all in all, Eastern region is a basket for goods and services. What can government do to be able to open up these areas for which food to come into the market centers and also create jobs for people? So one, I think that roads in the hinterland should be tackled, whereby government could be able to do that, to allow free flow of food into the youth will also require some training. Because day in and day out, those of us who are economics and we work on the medium and the small scale, you will realize that most of our people involve themselves in areas where, because they lack that basic skill that will let them be able to move forward, government should also think about putting that as part of their agenda in developing the Eastern region.
Yvonne Ikwe, my colleague in the Eastern region, brought us that report from the Abono East correspondent, also brought us this earlier.
One of them that we have to expect is price stability, so far as this country is concerned. There are some places you buy things today, tomorrow you go there and the price have changed. And we expect to have that stability so far as our system is also concerned. I also expect from the Minister for Finance about youth employment. See, we have a lot of youth unemployment in this country. Some of them have completed school quite a long time. Just about 2 days ago, I had opportunity to meet one young lady who completed Jache Pramso nursing training and midwifery training course. She's a midwife. She had the first class, 2021. You know that this lady had not been employed. When they opened the portal, they made it a free way for everybody to go in. And she was verified and she could not get a region to go and work. At the moment, the mother is, you see, these people, we call them OYDA people. She's a single mother who have gone through the mill to train this girl through this level, and she's not getting an opportunity to work.
And you had someone in the Bono East region speaking to our correspondent Belinda Tete, obviously complaining about the unemployment situation in the country, which is one of the major conversations that we've been having ahead of the mid-year budget review presentation by the Finance Minister later this afternoon. Let's speak to economist Dr. Eric Boachi-Yadom. He's a financial economist, and he's joining us to give us his perspectives as well. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us, Doc.
Good afternoon.
Doc, let me get your assessment of the last 6 months regarding Ghana's economy, its performance so far, first half of 2026.
Yes, generally, the numbers we see from where we've come from tell a story that we are actually getting somewhere. I mean, the numbers are improving, but you need to interrogate beyond the numbers. Yes, indeed. Inflation is still within a single digit of about 5 points, around 5%. We have GDP in the first quarter being somewhere around 6%. Generally, the figures tell a story, but if we just suppose the figures with an important variable like unemployment, I'm not sure we've done so much in that regard. Currently, the general unemployment figure is around 13%. If we go back to 2024, the unemployment figure was around 13.5%. So almost 2 years down the line, nothing much has changed. And actually, if we look at the youth unemployment, it is within the region of about 30%. I think 34.6 or so, which is about 0.6% higher than what it used to be in 2024. So yes, the numbers point that we are growing and we are achieving some level of stability, but the translation mechanism, and obviously, if people are not getting jobs to do, it means that they are not getting, there's no money in their pocket, their purchasing power is reduced, and generally the inclusivity of the growth become questionable. You see, and if we narrow it down to Greater Accra youth unemployment, when I say youth employment category, that is those who have just completed school within less than 25 years. The average person in the university graduate around 23 up to about 24%. That youth unemployment figure in Greater Accra is close to 50%. It is about 49%. You can tell from the GSS data. And GSS data also put it such that about 7 out of every 10 unemployed person is a young person.
So
unemployment.
If I get you correctly, just because of time, what you're saying is that the numbers may be there, but we're not seeing a reflection of that in the lives of people. What do you think is causing that?
Yeah, basically, it's the transmission mechanism in terms of our ability to create jobs. We were expecting, the 24-hour economy to kickstart, but what we are hearing is that there needs to be some sort of capital investment, which will take some time. Yes, as I go around, I see some community 24-hour markets that are being developed. So if we go on that tangent of, let's say, creating more markets themselves don't create jobs. For example, in your area, you wouldn't go to market and buy more things because there's a new market that has been constructed. construction of markets is a byproduct of growth in agriculture, growth in industrialization, and also purchasing power. It is a byproduct of demand. So if we don't get what will cause demand to rise, and we construct these markets, it will add up to government capital expenditure, but it will not translate well. So I'm expecting that in the mid-year budget review, there will be practical means as the transmission mechanism between the growth and the numbers we are recording and how young people can get jobs.
And then when you talk about the second half, what specific policies are you expecting beyond the job issue that you just raised?
I'm expecting that government will not be in a hurry to go to the capital market to borrow. Our debt to GDP generally seems to be falling, but it doesn't mean that our debt levels are going down. The numbers tell us that our debt level, even for the first quarter alone, we borrowed 33 billion Ghana cedis for the first quarter alone. So in nominal terms, we are not doing so well. Although when you convert to ratio terms, you will say that the debt level has fallen to about 42%. And then again, one of the reasons why the debt levels are falling is because of the rebasing in 2026 of the GDP, and the budget clearly specifies that the rebasing allocation is allocating over 200 million Ghana cedis, as a result of the rebase. What it means is that generally the GDP is increased or mechanically engineered to go up. So anything you compute as a percent of the GDP will fall, and that is one of the reasons why the debt level seems to be coming down. But in nominal terms, we are borrowing, and the borrowing that we are doing, I mean, we should not escalate it to the capital market. We should be patient enough and ensure that we see some level of a reduction even in the nominal borrowing. Then we can be able to go back to the capital market. I'm not sure the minister would want to do that, and also I'm not sure the minister would want to introduce new taxes, and some are even calling that the 1 cedi levy on fuel should go up. Today, we know prices of fuel are going up at some pumps.
If you could wrap up for me, Doc, we've run out of time, please.
Okay. So government should generally be cautious in introducing new taxes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Eric Boachi-Yiadom, financial economist, joining us and bringing us his perspectives there. When we come back, we'll bring you the latest from court. And I'm still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Now, lead counsel for Hanan Aludiba, Godfred Yeboah-Adame, has described the decision of the court to dismiss the application to strike out the charges against the former NAFCO CEO as not sound, noting that he will appeal, and will bring you more in our subsequent bulletins. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Log on to shrinews.com for more news. Good afternoon.
Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7 with me, Michael Obudu. Coming up, Finance Minister ready to deliver 2026 mid-year budget review in a couple of hours. Also, Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana COPEC projects diesel prices to cross 20 cedis per litre in August first pricing window. Plus, 2 extractive sector CSOs urge passage of mineral revenue law as gold surge mass declining oil outputs. I am Michael Obudu. Details of these and many other stories lined up for you. Do stay tuned. Thank you so much for your time. Straight into our top story. And the Minister of Finance, Dr. Kassiel Atu is expected to present the 2026 mid-year budget review in Parliament today amid rising calls for private sector leaders and industry stakeholders to pivot from fiscal austerity towards production-driven economic growth. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more. We'll bring you that report in our subsequent bulletins. But then, energy think tank Africa Center for Energy Policy (ACEP) and the Natural Resource Governance Institute (NRGI) are warning that Ghana's increasing reliance on gold to anchor macroeconomic stability is exposing critical gaps in the country's extractives sector governance. We have details of that lined up for you coming up shortly. But then, to our earlier story.
Just a few hours ago, happened to have been about 70%, not 30. Particularly on diesel, price for gas oil has gone up quite tremendously, and I am not surprised that we're going to have to pay for it some way, somewhat directly. It does not even bode well for the government's own accounting purposes when fuel prices go up or they fluctuate every now and then, because then you are unable to plan, anything meaningful. I have seen lots of times when government budgets have been, misaligned, and you would find that what was projected to be spent and what was eventually spent, you find quite a lot of sharp contrast in there. The sort of prices you are seeing from Argos Blood, it could do even a bit more, go a bit higher, because yes, already you've seen about $100 per metric ton jump. It's still not done, it's still going up as we speak. So by the beginning of August, prices could scale up from where we are currently.
So you heard the voice of Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana, COPEC, Duncan Amwa, revealing in that audio that fuel prices are expected to go up significantly in the next pricing window, with diesel tipped to cross the 20 Ghana cedi mark. This comes after a similar increase in the price of petroleum products at the pumps in the recent pricing window for petroleum products. According to the chamber, it expects key announcements from the Minister of Finance at today's mid-year budget review, revealing critical steps to help cushion the average Ghanaian from the rising cost of petroleum products in the country. Now, away from that, the Executive Director of the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, SEMSE, Benjamin Nsia, has outlined key energy sector expectations ahead of the 2026 mid-year budget review. Nsia highlighted several severe financial distress across major state-owned utility providers, urging the Finance Minister to provide progress updates on private sector participation reforms in revenue mobilization that were announced in 2025 and 2026.
There's financial distress in the power sector. We've observed that the main utility providers are experiencing some form of losses. I also want to hear whether we've started the reforms in terms of introducing private sector participation in revenue mobilization in the power sector, because that was mentioned in 2025 and also in 2026. We want to see what has come of that. Prices are likely going to increase in the coming days, price of petroleum products. So we expect that the minister mentions what drastic measures that they are likely going to institute to ensure that the price of petroleum product becomes comparatively cheaper for households and firms in terms of ensuring production and productivity of these institutions. We expect the minister to also mention some of the reforms that they've put in place either in the petroleum upstream or the downstream to ensure that the upstream becomes very attractive to foreign investors, as well as the downstream becoming very conducive for business operation.
So that was the Executive Director of the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, SEMSE, Benjamin Nsia, speaking there. Now, away from that, the Ghana Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has warned the public against investing with 23 entities operating on social media and online, saying none of them is licensed to offer capital market investment products in the country. The regulator says the companies have been promoting and offering investment products without the authorization required under the Securities Industry Act. This report has the details.
In a notice, the Commission urged the public to avoid investing with unlicensed investment firms and exercise caution when dealing with online investment platforms. The affected entities include AfriHub, BG Wealth, BP Investment, Creative Worker Promotion Company, Doma, Expert Option, GAIP Securities Learning and Exchange Group, Ghana Vest, Harvest Fund, Infarms, and Coca-Cola Platform. Others are Mazuma, Medicine Trade, NIO Platform, Profit Rise Investment, Kant Vest Stock Exchange, QVest, QX Broker, Smart Gain, Yebet Trading, ZekFX, and Bushant Ultima Cryptocurrency Group. SEC noted that none of the listed entities has been licensed to carry out capital market activities as required under the Securities Industry Act 2016, Act 929, as amended. It also advised prospective investors to verify the license status of any company offering investment product before committing funds.
And that was the 3 Business News Desk report. Before we leave you, we'll bring you that report on the Finance Minister preparing for the media budget presentation later today.
The presentation will provide an official assessment of government's 357 billion cedis budget performance over the first half of the year, updating lawmakers on revenue mobilization, debt management, and expenditure trajectory. Trade groups, including the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, are demanding no new port levies, maintaining that automated revenue systems like the paperless port platform are already generating sufficient funds for the government. Business leaders are seeking clear updates on major flagship capital initiatives, particularly demanding transparency and expenditure accountability on the Big Push project. Think tanks such as the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy are pushing for concrete measures to resolve financial distress among state utilities, alongside price interventions to cushion businesses against rising petroleum costs. The review comes against a backdrop of public debt reaching 720.8 billion cedis, a 45.1% of GDP as of May 2026, headline inflation edging up to 5.3% in June, and the Bank of Ghana holding its monetary policy rate at 14%. Stakeholders across industry and parliament will be watching closely to see if Dr. Toforson unveils structural policy adjustments that ease the cost of doing business while maintaining fiscal stability.
Well, on that note, that's how we end today's edition of Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more stories, please check out our website at 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please stay safe.